Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the criminal justice system and youth incarceration. And we're fortunate this morning to have with us to talk about the criminal justice system and youth incarceration, Mr. Eric Evans. Mr. Evans is the founder of an organization called Genesis. And of course, with Mr. Evans is Mr. Michael Pendleton. And Mr. Pendleton is the executive director of the organization Genesis. And of course, Mr. Evans and Mr. Pendleton, let me welcome both of you to the show this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
And to talk about what I consider to be a very, very important topic, and that is the criminal justice system and youth incarceration, recognizing, as the two of you undoubtedly recognize, that we are having a real problem today in American society with the incarceration of many of our young people. And of course, the two of you have quite a bit of information relative to what we should do and what we have to do if we're going to deal with this as an issue. But before, Mr. Evans, we get into that, let's have you and Mr. Pendleton give us some information about yourself, about your background, your education, and some of the reasons that you became involved with what you're doing. And of course, you can give us that information, after which Mr. Pendleton will give us the same, information in reference to his involvement. And then we'll have a chance to talk about some of the real problems dealing with youth incarceration.
Okay. Once again, I'm Eric Evans, but I guess the main reason why I got involved with this thing, I'm from J.C. Napier Projects, and I grew up there 21 years of my life, and I saw a need. I lost my brother to the streets back in '96. I saw that need, and I saw that I got to do something. I went to college. I went to Vol State Community College, but I didn't graduate. And so for a long time, I thought that there was nothing I could do. But I was just like, well, I got to do something. And I was trying to do some research about a year ago on how much it costs and what it takes to have a kid in your facility. And I made a call to the Juvenile Justice Center downtown and spoke with Gwendolyn Harris. And she told me I should come down and check it out. So I came down, I checked it out, and I saw what it was about, and I was just like, hey, I really got to do something. So I goes down there and I started mentoring to the young men down there, and I saw, along with Michael here, that there is a big, big need for a program for these young men, so they can have somebody they can really, truly count on. Somebody just ain't weekenders, or somebody just ain't summertime people. So what we have put together is a program that these young men will be able to come to, and they will be able to stay there for 1 year, and they will learn the education, and they will also get vocational training. And that's basically the reason why I got involved. That's all I need.
Very good. And of course, Mr. Pendleton, your involvement, how did you become involved with this Genesis program?
Well, it's amazing that my involvement really is I've been in empowerment for about 17 years. I've done empowerment programs for 17 years. And I think briefly, as we talked over the phone, we talked about some of my apprehensions in terms of being able to get even involved with the project. I got involved because, as Eric reiterated, my main problem with empowerment, sometimes we use words as scapegoats, and many of the times when you deal with empowerment programs, we deal with it from the standpoint of giving a child an opportunity for a month or 2 months or 3 months, and then nothing happens after that. So during the years, I've really kind of fought for that. My undergraduate background, of course, is at Howard University. Did my undergraduate study there, and did some graduate work upstate New York with an area of concentration in musical theater and music business. So I kind of bring that to the table. I've worked in the industry for over 17 years. So I've had an opportunity to really kind of see a lot of things. And what we've done, I believe, we've been able to find a way to mesh together all of our identities towards the common goal. And the common goal is what's in the middle, and that's the life of the child. I may also add that I think what's so phenomenal about this experience is that this is necessarily not my vision. This is this man's vision. And I think what's so phenomenal about it is that, the three of us, there's another young man that's a part of our vision, LaShawn Greenhill. He heads up the technology component of what we do. And we have all really kind of gotten rid of our egos, and we've been able to look at what the real dynamic is. And the real dynamic is being able to do something for these young men.
Very good. You know, Mr. Evans, when you first conceived of this idea of creating such an organization, what was your ultimate purpose? I mean, how did you go about it, and who did you contact? What are some of the steps that that led you eventually to create the Genesis organization?
Well, once again, it was really truly placed on my heart for back in '96, right after I lost my brother. I didn't have no contact, so everything that I had wasn't given to me. People was, and sometimes stingy with information. Then God just started placing people around me that knew some certain things, and I just thank God for those type of people, because they brought some things to the table that I didn't know. This gentleman brought some things to the table. My other partner, Sean, he brought some things, and the other people that was just around me.
And so this Genesis, the name of the organization, how did you come up with that? I mean, why did you call that the Genesis organization?
Well, for one, okay, Genesis is the first book of the Bible, and it represents beginning, new beginning. Well, beginning, period. And what we want to do with these young men is give them a new beginning. So I took the word Genesis and I broke it down, and each letter represents something. And then I took also the number 7 and 8, and I add that with it. And 7 representing complete, and 8 meaning new beginning. So by the time these young men go through our program for 1 whole year, they will have a new beginning, and they will start all over on life.
And basically, what we're saying here, Mr. Pendleton, is that many of these young men are young men who are incarcerated. Is that correct? Why don't you give us some information about the incarceration of our youth? I mean, what are we talking about
Well,
here?
I mean, what's so startling as we talked over the phone is that 98% was the number that we've last looked at in terms of African-American young men that are detained in our detention centers. And when we saw those numbers, we were just alarmed by that. We were alarmed by the fact that there are very few men who are stepping up to the plate, not just from the standpoint of offering a program. I think it extends much more stronger than that. There's a much more deeper thing that we need to look at. And one of the things that we look at with these young men is that many of them are, yes, they're incarcerated, and Genesis is not an organization that believes in a young person not paying the consequences for an action that they did. But what we don't believe in is the system that says that that young person doesn't have an opportunity past that experience. I mean, we've all made mistakes as just people, just as human beings. And we certainly believe that some of these young men, not all of them, the ones who want to change, need to have an opportunity to be able to do so. And we believe that it takes a different voice to be able to do that. We believe that these young people need to be listened to. And many a times what we do in our program is we listen. Many of our most powerful sessions that we do every Tuesday when we start our program really stem from just being able to stand before them and for them to be able to identify with another African-American man who's productive and who's successful and who's doing positive things in the community. Those kinds of things are important for them to see, because so much of their lives are lived within a box. And that box many a times often prohibits them from being able to really operate outside of it.
And so all of these elements went into the thinking in terms of how many people are you dealing with? And we're getting ready for our first commercial break, but how many people are you dealing with when you talk about these young men? How many people are we talking about? Are we talking about a large number of folks or whatever?
We're talking about 20 to 25 young men at the Juvenile Justice Center, but the young men that we're going to be dealing with inside the program, we're going to be dealing with 30 young men a year.
And of course, there's a real need for this. And of course, what we'll do, gentlemen, is to take this first commercial break, after which we'll come back and give you an opportunity to talk about this particular program. And we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. We're talking to Mr. Eric Evans.